nerds? So we finally got the neon running. Brought it to Chrysler's at Carlisle. And so far I've put like 800 miles on this thing. So let's get into it. What up, nerds? So, my goal of getting this done this weekend is not happening. I already broke my radiator that I was going to use. I tried to fix it. I made it worse. So I had to order a new one. So I ended up just cleaning up my transmission. I'm going to bolt it to my block and try and drop it in here. What up, nerds? So the other day I had taken the clutch fork out of the neon transmission so I could paint the transmission. I didn't want to get the clutch fork all painted up. Then I was going to clean it up, grease it up, reinstall it. I set it on the trunk of this car. Then I went to go jack the car up and I was like, oh no, if I jack the car up, this might fall off. And I set it down somewhere. And I've not cleaned up in here since I moved in here 6 years ago. So I just keep amassing things and setting things down, and it is getting quite overwhelming. So I lost my clutch fork. So I asked around a couple of my friends. My buddy Mario had a spare one. So I have a new clutch fork, brand used to me, and I have the little pivot ball. It's plastic. This one's not busted. It was off of one of my spare transmissions. So I'm going to do with this what I showed it on with the other one, which is just put some high temperature grease on it and then stick it in the transmission. I've since cleaned the transmission, so it's ready to go. It's ready to get installed on the car. So let's do this. Let's see. Alright, so this is the pivot ball inside of here. This is the clutch fork, and I've greased inside where the pivot ball sits. This is the input shaft, and the throw-up bearing sits kind of inside like this, on there, and then it's like a little dance to get everything to line up. And once you do, you just sit. Here we go. That's all lined up. I'm going to put a little dab of grease on here. Not too much, just enough to let this move a little bit freer. You know, I'll be honest with you. I don't think I've ever done this before. I'm not sure I should be doing this, but kind of feels like the right thing to do. Not a lot, just a little bit. Just let it pivot in and out a little bit easier. Yeah, oh great, the ears came off. Oh, I got it back on. Alright, now it's time to put the transmission onto the engine block. This is not exactly fun, but it is necessary. Gotta line that up, jostle it around a little bit. When I go that time, there it goes. It's almost lined up. Well, what we can do, this side started up here. I'll kind of hold it and just alright. Come on. Sometimes. Nope. Yeah, maybe I ought to jam something up under there to help hold this up a little. Or I could just... Oh, there we go. Where'd that bolt go? Alright, that's started. These don't always want to line up correctly, but then you gotta play the game of find the right long bolt, the right length. This is getting on my nerves. Alright. Come on, just come together. There's a bolt right there. Right there. Double check this one. That's there. Right back here, behind the speed sensor. There's a bolt back here. There's that. Really appreciated your help when I was putting the transmission on. I felt the lift coming from you. Don't do what I did because I was kind of lifting with my back. Anyway, I've been out here for maybe 40 minutes, but it's getting late. I got started late. I got home late. Got started late. So I'm going to call it a night. It's Wednesday, the 1st. I don't know when I'm going to pick this back up. But anyway, let's see where I pick this back up. So anyway, let's just perch that right there. There we go. All right. So this motor mount here is for a 2nd gen Neon. Oh, I gotta pull the crank pulley off too. So there's the crank pulley, right? Oh, it's there. That's really strange. Anyway. God dang it. June 16th. So, I put my crank pulley on, moved it around, I realized the timing belt did look kind of bad. So, pulled the crank pulley back off, and then ordered a timing belt kit. I'm changing it, changing the timing belt, the water pump, and just the pulley. I'm not changing the tensioner. I'm not upgrading to a Lightens tensioner. I'm still using the hydraulic tensioner. This is not what you should do, but it's what I'm going to do because I feel pretty safe doing it. I've done it a lot of times. The tensioner still has a lot of tension left in it. I'm not really scared. I don't plan on this car seeing 8,500 RPMs with this motor in it. Definitely not with this cam. So I think it's going to be fine. Other people have bad luck with them. I've always had good luck with them, so I'm just going to stick with it. So I'll show you a quick walkthrough on how to do the timing belt on a single cam Neon motor. So here you can see what I did. I clamped it down with a with my vise, and then put an Allen key in there just so that it'll hold it down, and then when I'm done I can, you know, pull the pin, throw the grenade. The timing belt will be tensioned. So anyway, let's get this back on here. It's good there, it's good there. Oh, I gotta take this back. I gotta take this. Dang it! I gotta put the water pump on first. Ooh, come on. All right, water pump first, then the tensioner bearing. Oh, that's awful nice. It came with an extra gasket. That's cool. Now, usually, you know, some of the old timers will tell you to put RTV in here. Some people tell you don't put RTV in there. You know, you'll kill people. People get hurt. You know, whatever. It really does not matter whether there's RTV in there. RTV, I usually just put a couple drops in there to just hold the gasket in place so it doesn't get like pinched out or anything. But realistically, as long as you start a bolt, feel around, make sure it's still in the groove, and then just gently place it where it needs to be and start threading in some bolts, you're going to be just fine. Some of these are really grimy. For the bracket. I think these two bolts are for, I don't know what they're for. Power steering. They're for an accessory that I don't have anymore. If I ever do another timing belt, I'll be able to tell you. And these don't need to be hammered home. They're, you know, water pump bolts. They don't need to be impacted down. You don't need to be, you know, hit with the impact on and then wrenched over with a breaker bar. You can just, I'm sure that there's a recommended torque setting, but I just usually choke up on this like when you choke up on a baseball bat or something. You know, you don't give it all the leverage. You just give it a good twist and then come back around and double check it later. I'm sure there's an order you should go in, but I don't care. If you put this on in the wrong position, you can hit the water pump housing. Alright, watch out for that. Alright, now, timing belt routing. It's really easy. Now, I'm using an AEM cam gear. I do not have my plastic covers on, but the timing mark is at the top, so basically it needs to point straight up and down through the center line of the crank pulley, you know, where this the crank bolt is. And then this, there's a line, or there's a mark right here that lines up with this mark right here. So it all just needs to line up. Well, actually, I back off the crank about half a tooth, counterclockwise, so that when I let this go and it tensions it, it'll actually pull the crank forward half a tooth. So let's run this around and into here. There we go. Up, around. Bring the crank forward just a little bit. Because it will line up, but it's iffy. Let me make sure that this is lined up. Let me get a... I have a feeling that this cam gear is not quite lined up. Yeah, that's That's better. Yeah, it's lined up correctly. Let me get a string or something I can double check with. Alright, so it's going to go around there, through there, down here. It's pretty close. Let's turn it around. Take it around there first. I'm actually going to have to remove the tensioner. Alright, so that's still half a tooth off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to preload this with my breaker bar. So I'm going to bring it forward and then bring this up. I'm going to bring this forward, try and bring this up, tighten these bolts down so it'll be about in the position I want it in, but I'm not going to release the pin yet. I'm going to walk the crank around 2 times so the cam gear will have one full rotation. Then I'll check the marks one more time, make sure everything's in position how it should be, and if we're good then I'll pull the pin. Years ago, I would have just sent it from here, but I'm trying to be a little more cautious these days. Loosen this one. Lift up all this with my shoulder a little so I get this into position. Since the car isn't running, it will hold itself there. Alright, away we go. Doing this will also let us make sure that the timing belt's kind of riding where it needs to, and it's not going to do anything funny, like fall off the inside edge or the outside edge. Engine is making compression. About halfway there. Alright, I'm going to get the timing mark lined up on the bottom. And I believe that's where it needs to be. At least I think so. Something else I can do, since this is still together, I can pop this cam gear bolt out, and I can check the position of the pin underneath of it. As long as the pin is pointed directly down towards the crank, we're good. Now if it's angled at all, we're not good. I'll need that. Yep, and there's the position of the pin, and it goes straight down to the crank. So we're good. I'll put this back on, pull the pin on the, and it is important that you tighten this down. Alright. I can pull the pin, rotate it over one more time just to double check that it's gonna keep tension and everything. And it's lined back up. So we're good. Timing belt's done. Now I'll put my crank pulley back on for the last time. I'm gonna do the same process. I heat it up, put a little anti-seize on the crank snout, and smack it with a mallet and ram the bolt home. So since this is an all aluminum underdrive pulley, I can heat it up. A stock pulley actually has a rubber isolator in it. You cannot heat it up. I mean, you can, but it's a really bad idea because it's going to melt and then it's going to not be balanced and it's going to throw your belts off and it's going to be a very unfun time. You want to try and focus the heat, if you're doing this, into the big parts and not the little parts, not the thin parts. Okay, that's hot. Let's get it on there. Most of the way on. That went on almost all the way. Put that in there. And we're done. So it's Thursday. Tomorrow I've got band practice. So it's Friday. So Saturday, I'll pick back up on this. I'm going to slap my harness on it. And then I got to find all my bolts. If I don't find my bolts, I might have to make a trip to the junkyard, which is going to delay me for probably another day. But I'll try and make this happen. I really need to get this done because I want to drive it. And also, I think my daily has a head gasket leak. So if I fix this, I can drive this and then put the gray car in here and put that 2.4 PT motor I've got kicking around in it. And then that'll be good for another, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 years, or until I get sick of driving it, or somebody hits it, because that's going to be the way it goes. I'm going to put a lot of work into it. Somebody's going to total it. Anyway, I'll pick back up where I pick back up. June 22nd, I'm back at it. I've picked away at it a few minutes here and there. Nothing important enough to really film, but it's the day. I'm finally going to put it in. Don't do what I'm doing, okay? You should use a chain or lift straps, something else. I'm using a rope. I'm using what's called mule tape. It's a very strong Kevlar-based rope. I got it from an old job. I've been using it for years, but I don't recommend it for anybody else. I'm using it because I have it, and it's worked for me in the past, but you could get hurt doing it this way. Chain would probably work the best bet. Lift strap is, second best bet. But this has always worked for me, so I'm just going to keep doing it. But your mileage may vary. If you want to try mule tape, by all means do it. I put a little knot in the center to hold it so it doesn't slide back and forth because I've had that problem before. But I'm just going to go ahead and put the engine in the car because that's what I'm doing today. Now when you lower these, you really want to go slow. Have this as evenly in here as I'd like, but it's going to get close. Oh shoot. It's kind of pitched forward and the car's pitched nose up, so this might be a little challenging. Maybe I'll get my floor jack under it and lift it up from the center. Even though I'm replacing them, I still don't want them broken because they'll be. I'll probably just throw them out. But Why is that acting up? Feels like it doesn't want to go in there, but I mean, that's almost lined up. All right, it's got to go up a little bit more. A little more. Oh, seems to more jack it up. Oh, I got a straight shot through. I don't know if you can see that with this camera, but I can get there. Nope, not with this. And this bolt is like just long enough. There we go. Process is started, at least. I'm not finished by any stretch of the imagination, but the process is started. I just got to get the front motor mount in, the bobble strut bracket in the back. I got to replace the shifter cables because they got melted years ago. I have another set of shifter cables. I get the shifter cable bracket off my other car because I think I sold the one that was on this to somebody in need. I got to lay the harness in, put the battery tray in, and I'll be pretty close. Oh, and a clutch cable. I have a new clutch cable to put in. So I'm getting close. I'm getting really, really close. What up, nerds? It's July 6th. I have like a week and 2 days until I want to drive this to Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Well, realistically, I just got to drag it up there, so it's only like an hour away. Now I'm driving around while I'm up there. But anyway, got the engine in it, got everything hooked up. Don't have the axles in it. I don't have the brakes on it, but I should be able to at least start it, and there's no fluid in it, so let's see if we can get it started. So years ago, I broke the relay covers off of this. So what I'm gonna do, I just kind of have the battery perched in here. What I'm gonna do is kick the relay over for the fuel pump by my hand, push fuel out to the rail, make sure nothing's leaking, and then I'm going to key it on, crank the starter over with the relay, and if it cranks up and runs, cool. If not, I'll try and figure it out for a minute, and then if it starts to act crazy, I'll just cover the throttle body. I got a rag I can use. Well, made pressure. I'm gonna go key it on. Yeah, this is still with the stock computer, so let's see what happens. This is very hokey. I don't know if this is actually going to start. Alright. I'll make sure this stuff is away from the timing belt. What is it acting like? Oh, the battery might be a little weak. Well, it runs. So yeah, last Friday, got this done with just enough time to drive it across town to go register it. Came back, finished up a couple more things. Put it on the tow dolly, drove it up to the hotel to hang out with my Neon crew that I've been friends with these people. And then drove it from Harrisburg to Carlisle. That was my test drive after the first 18 miles into town. And since then, I drove it, you know, from Harrisburg down to my house in Hanover and back a couple times, and then I started driving it to work this week. I don't have a headliner in it. There's no air conditioning, so it's been hot this week, so it's been pretty miserable, but all in all, I'm really happy just to have it back, just to be driving it again. It's just almost surreal. It just kind of feels like me being in my early 20s again. And you know, it's pretty fast. It's not as fast as my other car was before I broke it, but it's pretty quick. It's fun to drive. Seems to be getting pretty good gas mileage. The tune that my buddy put together for it, it's got, you know, the little almost SRT 4-leg pops and bangs when you decel, like just a little bit. It's not really annoying. It's not very obnoxious, but it's just an enjoyable, pleasant experience. Oh, and it has Coney struts with Mopar high rate springs. I took them off the car that Blair gave me because I just needed struts that were going to work, and honestly, it rides amazing and handles great. Let's go up here and we'll do a little enthusiastic driving. Now, I did do some conversion work on this. So it's running a 2nd gen RT Magnum intake. I'm borrowing my buddy Tim's 60mm Lorenzo throttle body. I had to undo the harness some and extend some of the wiring so that they would reach down to where they are. It has a 2nd gen throttle cable. Then under here, I hid some of my nasty wiring skills, but I had to switch to, you know, I forget what these are, EV6 style injector clips. I had to switch to those type because I got a 2nd gen Neon fuel rail, so I hid that with this handy dandy fuel rail cover. This is, of course, you know, the eBay Mishimoto knockoff radiator. Little slim fan that's just, for now, it's just held in literally with zip ties, but it works. These radiator mounts are off of the SRT4 2nd gen Neon. These have the Bluetooth mounts for the headlights because these tabs snapped off. These almost set me over the edge. So those are Depot headlights, the Depot black housing headlights, and they don't make them anymore. The only way you can get them made is if you ask Modern Performance to order 100 of them, and then they will ask Depot to make 100 of them, and then they have to sit on them until they sell them all. I bought these brand new years ago for another car, and I was like, you know what, these will look really good on the NYG eventually, so I kept them. And I set them on a shelf, pulled them off the shelf to put them in the car, and realized that those tabs were snapped off, and I almost got sent over the edge. But other than that, I just got the long tube that was on it when I took it off the car back in January. That's about it. Oh man, I almost didn't tell you guys about the biggest thing. of this stuff, all of this stuff here, this transmission, the 2-cylinder heads, all of this stuff was in the car. I went shopping and came back, but all of this stuff was in the car because we actually moved with the car like twice, and then it's been broken for 9 years. So I would just, you know, pick up stuff and put it in the car. We'd use it for storage. It became a shelf for a while, like most project cars do. So that was like kind of the last thing we really needed to do. Like, I was really focused on getting it running, but I didn't clean it up. So my wife took it on herself to clean up the car. And there was like 3 storage bins, all these parts of stuff. And then she vacuumed it because I had a radiator sitting here, and the radiator just kind of like disintegrated because it like started to oxidize, and like it almost trashed the back seat, but she was able to get it all cleaned up. And I wouldn't have gotten the car on the road without her help. She was like very instrumental in getting this done. It was just an amazing help. But yeah, I'm filming this on the Saturday after I filmed the last section of video. So at this point, the car has like 1,150 miles on it because I just keep driving it. It's getting at least 36 miles per gallon because like the first full tank I did on it, it got, when I put in the second tank of gas, it like overfilled it, and then I underfilled it, the second tank or the third tank, and then I keep kind of bouncing back and forth. So the average is about 36 if you average up all the tanks, but I'm starting to keep like really good track of it. I wanted to try and detail it some, even though, you know, it has no paint left on it. But we're going to a Cars and Coffee event tomorrow with it and the wagon. So we'll just see how that goes. Yeah, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys just, you know, tuning in. I had a bunch of people ask me about this thing, if I was still doing videos, and I am. I really just wanted to push through and get it done. So that's why I hadn't updated anything in a couple weeks. So that's where I'm at.